NASCAR should go to every racetrack just once. One of the novelties about NASCAR is that we visit multiple racetracks twice a year. Compare that to other motorsports where you almost never see a repeat track on the schedule. But why? Why do we go to multiple tracks twice? The short answer is contract obligations. With all the changes NASCAR has made to its schedule in recent years, there are some tracks like Texas that are just an undeserving anchor to the yearly rotation. Speedway Motorsports, the legendary company founded by Bruton Smith, is in this contractual agreement with NASCAR where Texas Motor Speedway must have 2 dates on its schedule every year. There's nothing NASCAR can do about that right now. They have to wait until 2024-2025 when most of these contractual obligations end. Based on this, I feel like we would not go to racetracks twice if we weren't forced to. In an ideal world, every track would be on the schedule because it deserves to be there. It would be a true meritocracy. This would put more pressure on track promoters to increase amenities for fans. It would put more pressure on the track to put on a good show. You look at what Phoenix has done with their $178 million in track renovations, and the at-track experience for fans is much better. Brand new, renovated garages, a new pedestrian tunnel to connect the infield and grandstands, and 54 suites among other total facelifts throughout the facility. Yes, we still race at Phoenix twice, but improving the at-track experience is more likely to draw better crowds. The one race per track policy also opens the door for new tracks to be added to the schedule. These tracks can range from old friends like North Wilkesboro and Chicagoland to unique tracks like Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Eldora, and Road Atlanta. It becomes easier to mix and match tracks to different parts of the schedule, which is something I will talk more about later. If NASCAR improves their marketing at places we went to in the past, the hype can increase for a return to some of these top-notch venues. We do have an attendance problem. The sport isn't even trying to hide it anymore. Vast swaths of empty grandstands for a multitude of different reasons. Slapshoes harped on it in a recent video of his. People are just not doing very well right now. Not many can afford to go to the racetrack multiple times a year, especially not at a rapid pace. One of the ways to fix this is to only go to most places once. The only exceptions should be Daytona and tracks with multiple layouts such as Bristol, Charlotte, and Indianapolis. Every track immediately becomes more alluring. The Bristol Spring Race is a great example of this. For years, the spring races had god-awful attendance, partially due to weather, partially due to timing. You could also argue that since more emphasis has been placed on the night race as it's now widely viewed as a crown jewel, the spring race has become an afterthought. It would explain why we've decided to make Bristol a dirt track every spring. New Hampshire Motor Speedway is Exhibit A of the single date per year idea being a good one. For years, the races there were forgettable at best each year. Both 2012 races were awful, the summer race of 2013 was okay, the fall race was awful. The chase race in 2014 was really good. I can't tell you anything about 2015 or 2016's events, I genuinely don't remember them. After 2017, the racetrack loses a date, widely seen as a failure, and we have seen some excellent races since. This is not a coincidence. In 2018, we had a solid duel between Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch, with Harvick coming out on top. The next year saw Hamlin and Harvick have one of the best battles of the inexplicable 550 horsepower era, often overlooked by fans. Last year was very entertaining with lots of side-by-side racing, the race against darkness, and the feel-good story of Eric Almirola coming out on top. And to top it off, this year, Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell had a pretty solid duel of their own, with Bell getting a much-needed victory to revitalize his season. The Lobster has become a coveted, yet sometimes feared, victory lane prize, and this happened mainly because we only go there once now. Most people around the area got to plan around this single race date, which has seen a steady uptick in attendance since its restriction to one date. I don't foresee that trend changing anytime soon. Pocono is another great example. The track just announced its biggest crowd since 2010, as more people were able to plan for the race on their schedule. From what I can gather of fans that went to the track, the experience at this most recent race was excellent. One date, not two, makes all the difference in the world. NASCAR's strength is variety. Variety puts butts in the seats. It determines our champion. Even though this point is diluted somewhat by our current playoff format, the gist of it remains. You need to be at least proficient on all sorts of tracks. Superspeedways, short tracks, intermediates, road courses. That's how NASCAR drivers can call themselves the best stock car drivers in the world. Also, Track dates become more fluid with a single date. Oh look, Sonoma can be raced at in April because we ditched the spring Kansas race. Atlanta can be moved out of the summer. We no longer need 3 short tracks in a row in April and May. 1 Richmond race in the spring, the Bristol night race in August, and Martinsville is the penultimate event. And we can still dump dirt on Bristol in the spring for all I care, put it in early March. The possibilities are endless. It's much easier to account for potential weather and other hazards if we are not bound by multiple dates. On a slightly different note, the Pocono doubleheader, while it was a good idea, the concept would wear itself quite thin if it was used several times throughout the year. Once or twice is more than enough if it's used at all, which I'd rather it's not. There is one overruling exception to this idea, and that is Daytona. I have Daytona at 2 dates because of its illustrious history within the sport. There is no track like it, no track even comes remotely close. 1 date is obviously the Daytona 500, the second date is returning the summer Daytona race to its rightful place, July 4th weekend. Yes, that would mean losing Talladega's second date, yes, that would mean Martinsville's spring race is gone. However, the counterpoint to that is the remaining race at each of these tracks will have so much build-up that they will become must-see events. By eliminating second dates, the remaining date for each track becomes that much more special. The lone remaining Martinsville race could be the next crown jewel, for instance. In recent weeks, I feel like more and more fans have warmed up to the idea of a single date per racetrack configuration, sans Daytona. The excitement for these single dates has gone up considerably, and the flexibility that this idea allows for the schedule is massive. More tracks will have more funding put behind them as quality overcomes quantity. The drivers win by having their talent tested on a higher variety of circuits. The fans win by having alluring racing each week, and their respective track communities win by having rare spotlights placed on them. This idea has more upside than not, and I would love to see it become reality.